Welcome to episode 182 of the G2 on 5G. It's the latest inside scoop on everything 5G. We cover 6 topics in about 20 minutes, and it's brought to you by More Insights and Strategy. I'm Will Townsend, and joining me again this week is fellow analyst Anshel Sag. Let's get started with our annual Mobile World Congress Barcelona show wrap-up. And I was on the ground in Spain. Anshel was remote. And man, there were a lot of announcements. I saw that you posted a Forbes article, right? And it was about Qualcomm, I believe.
The first of many.
Yes, so get ready.
I've got that one. I got that one out. That was a long one. Then I've got one for Intel, Lenovo, and Dell, and all the AI PC stuff becoming a business thing, which I'll cover.
Yeah.
And I've got another couple coming down the pipe. So, it's MWC. Gotta get those things out.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's been a busy few days.
Yeah, I know I think it's been a busy few weeks for both of us. All the
Yes.
pre-briefs, a couple of weeks before, and then I was on the ground. I behaved, tried to get to bed early because I was just back to back and meetings. And I will be publishing a Forbes article as well. It'll be early next week, and it's going to be a big one as well. I probably will not have multiple ones, but it'll be a pretty big one. I'm going to cover several topics, and I'm going to talk about a few of those on the podcast. So let's jump into it. My first topic, and this was something that I wasn't necessarily sort of tracking, but boy, as I got there and I started getting into meetings, it became quite evident. And it's APIs. And so you and I have talked about Ericsson's acquisition of Vonage, over $6 billion. We've also talked about the goodwill write-down that occurred last year. And I think everyone in the market, in the mobile market, was sort of scratching their head. Was this a smart move by Ericsson? But you know what? I would say one of the highlights of the event for me and many meetings that I attended, there was a lot of discussion around API and how API and API approach can bring high degrees of programmability and the opportunity for monetization to these next generation mobile networks that operators are spending billions of euros and billions of dollars to develop. One big kind of development is with the Vonage management team in general. So Nicholas Heveldop, he was president of Ericsson North America. He has actually now moved over to become CEO of Vonage. I missed this news somehow, but I know Patrick Moorhead, our firm's chief analyst, did spend time with him this week. I also had a chance in line, getting back on the plane to head home, to meet Joy Corso. And Joy is Vonage's CMO. And so we were talking about the opportunity that APIs bring. And we were kind of joking about, when the news initially broke with Ericsson's acquisition of Vonage, it's like, hey, they're the IP phone company. But what's interesting, as I attended meetings with AWS, their telco team, and other briefings, even with some of Ericsson's competitors, there was a lot of discussion around API and can it drive monetization. So, you know, the big question is Vonage positioned to capitalize? Well, I think with Nicholas at the helm, Nicholas is a very charismatic leader. He's very smart. He did quite a bit while he was president of North America at Ericsson to really promote the need for programmability, because that just speeds the developer process, and that speeds innovation and actual applications and use cases. So I don't know, and you're spending time remotely, if you caught any of this, but it wasn't evident to me during my pre-briefings, but boy, once I was on the ground in Barcelona, it was pretty evident.
Yeah, I mean, I think I did see some of it ahead leading up to the show, just a little bit of like a trickling. Obviously, I wasn't there, so I didn't see it in person, but
Sure.
I definitely noticed a lot of talk of APIs, saw a lot of coverage of APIs. Truthfully, these APIs are really just pointing to what the network can do, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's what you need. An API is fine, but you need an SDK to take
Yeah.
advantage of the APIs. So
Right.
I feel like that's maybe a missing talking point is like we have to build a system of like an actual developer kit to use these APIs,
Yeah.
because you can talk about APIs all you want, but if you don't have a good way for people to use them, um, they're useless. It's just like a network slice is useless unless you have an API
Yeah.
to take advantage of it. So this is like a multi-layered thing, but I feel like this is something people should have been talking about sooner, um, and maybe even talking about in advance of network slicing, because network slicing is one of the ways that you can use this. Um, but yeah, I feel like this it might be a little bit. I feel like we're a little late talking about this. And there should have been a discussion we had last year. But maybe now is a time. I don't know, but
Yeah.
that's my feeling. Is like I feel like this is maybe a little bit of a late discussion.
Yeah, I touched on it, and that was a big acquisition on Ericsson's part. And you make a very good point. I mean, APIs are used to integrate different software solutions together, right? So you have API integration when it comes to networking. You have API integration when it comes to security. You have API integration that comes in lots of different forms. And as you mentioned, it's an application program interface. And as you rightly mentioned, an SDK or a software development kit is required to do that. And so Vonage is, providing those assets, those capabilities for this to happen. Traditionally, mobile network infrastructure was closed, right? And so we're seeing momentum around more open standards, through the use of software-defined networking tools, as well as in general just additional resources that are provided to developers so that they can develop those next generation mobility applications much more quickly. In the past, I spent time with like AT&T and Verizon and T-Mobile, and at their lab, their lab locations, and they would bring developers in, provide them with, before 5G became deployed, provide these developers with test beds to give them early access to understand sort of the power and the capabilities that 5G new radio could deliver within the
And the
overall developer
limitations.
process. Yeah, and the limitations and the guardrails. This just sort of this whole notion of API and programmability is designed to sort of short circuit that and bring things, to developers and access to developers more quickly. And I agree with you. This is something that should have, taken more than a year to really catch hold. But I think it's promising, and so it'll be interesting to see. I'll be spending more time with Vonage and be following up with their CMO Joy to sort of understand their capabilities there. But everyone's talking about it; it's hot stuff. So we'll see if that actually leads to actual monetization. But let's go to your first topic, and you want to talk about AI is everywhere in the wild. And I certainly saw a lot of this. You saw a lot of this at CES, but I saw a lot of this at Mobile World Congress as well.
Yeah, MWC is really just kind of a rolling on of the trend that started with CES, which really was a culmination of all of last year's AI announcements. So
Mhm.
this year, MWC, the big AI announcements were really from Intel on the client side, talking about bringing their AI PC vision to the business. So like Dell and Lenovo both announced a lot of AI commercial PCs that have the new Intel Core Ultra processor in it, which has
Mhm.
its own NPU. And then also, Qualcomm announced their AI Hub, which is actually a development platform for developers to find pre-trained AI models that are optimized for its hardware and its chipsets, so you can quickly deploy efficient AI models on their devices.
Mhm.
So developers can go to GitHub or Hugging Face, which is two most popular places to get those things,
Yeah.
um, and develop quickly on AI because they want people to use their powerful MPUs more quickly. They also had a fairly cool AI demo where they were doing a multimodal AI where you could talk to it and it could recognize both images and text and give you recipes based on what the image it was looking at. And because that way it's like not only identifying the object, but also conceptualizing what they can do together. So that was a really cool demo. Also, MediaTek had a really, really cool AI demo. I think the best AI demo I've seen to date for generative
Mhm.
AI, where you could type in prompt, and as you were typing the prompt, it would change. So like you say like dogs, and it'd be dogs, and like in hats, and they would add hats. running, and then show them running, and like every word you add, it just keeps iterating
Yeah,
the generative image to a new, more refined version of what you were prompting it to do. But it also shows you how instantaneous and responsive the AI really is, which I think is a really great demo. And then on top
yeah.
of that, Qualcomm announced a new 5G modem, Snapdragon X80. Um, the
Shocking.
big the big takeaway is 6 carrier aggregation, uh, even faster AI capabilities, uh, and it's not really actually more throughput. So it's probably more power efficient. It's not probably on a lower process node. I forget which process node it's on, and it's probably going to be the next generation of phones. So
Yeah,
more fragmented 5G networks will be able to take in more carriers more efficiently. And then the last announcement in this segment is the FastConnect 7900, which is Qualcomm's second generation Wi-Fi 7 chipset, which also claims to have AI capabilities both on board and taking advantage of the SoC, and what so it's like a dual modal AI capability. I didn't get that much detail on it, even though I kept pressing them for it.
yeah.
And then I didn't put this in my topics, but they also announced an automotive Wi-Fi 7 solution, which is actually the first Wi-Fi 7 solution for automotive grade use in market at all. So
Hmm.
that'll be really cool because um, first of all, automakers tend to be slow. So, even if they would get a design win today, it might not be in a car for another 3 to 4 years. So
Yeah.
anybody utilizing this now will probably have it in cars in the future, which will make sense because everybody's phones will be Wi-Fi 7 by then.
Yeah,
Um,
it'll take 2 or 3 years to get there, right?
yeah, so I think that's a
For
good
device
thing just for
support.
everybody to have, all cars default Wi-Fi 7 in my point. I mean, obviously it'll be mostly a premium uh, device or premium car capability initially, and everybody
Yeah.
else will do Wi-Fi 6, but that's like the quick of it.
Yeah. No, that's quite a bit, my friend. Well, let me jump into my second topic, and I'm going to talk about low Earth orbit satellite service. And I did write a Forbes article. It's a few weeks ago. I believe it was a Forbes article, or was it a research note? I don't know. I am very jet lagged right now. I woke up at 4:30 a.m. Texas time, so I don't even know where I'm at. I think I'm in Austin. I'm headed to Bastrop at some point to my home. But I did get to spend time with two CEOs. I got to finally meet Abel, it's the CEO of AST SpaceMobile. There was an AT&T reception on Monday. He and I got to meet for the first time, and then I met with Sateliot,
That was how they
Jamie.
pronounce it.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. I should have probably asked, Jamie, the CEO, if I'm
I feel like it's
pronouncing
Sateliot, but we'll see.
Satelliot. I don't know. It's crazy. Anyway, I got to meet with him as well. And, there are a lot of players in Leo, and it continues to be a space race. It is super hot. Just from at a high level with AST Space Mobile and AT&T, both Abel and Chris Sambar, who runs networks for AT&T, they were both very vocal about the opportunity for the two companies to work together as AST Space Mobile moves closer to its production launch sometime in the second quarter of this year. Um, the good news is I may have an opportunity to go back to Midland and be there for what I believe is referred to as the chip in. So that should be interesting. I don't have a lot of information to share beyond the fact that both AST, Space Mobile, and AT&T remain very, very bullish on the opportunity. Mr. Sambar basically stated he feels like there's no other competing technology um, as compared to what AST is doing. AST has also historically worked with Nokia as well. So there's a lot of technology that's coming together there. And certainly when one of the largest mobile network operators in the world gets behind something, that's pretty positive. So and just, on a personal basis, Abel and I had a chance, to talk about the digital divide. He is very passionate about that. He told me he's on a United Nations Council that's focused on connectivity and bridging the digital divide. I think that's fantastic. I told him about my book. That's a work in progress. It's been a work in progress for several years, but a lot of it was stymied
Pandemic
during the
video.
pandemic. Yeah, but I'm picking that up, and I'm even thinking about broadening the focus and including some technology areas like low Earth orbit and FWA and that sort of thing, to sort
I
of
think
round
you'd
out
be
that.
foolish not to.
I know, to round out the narrative, but that's exciting, and I think Sateliot or Sateliot, they're an interesting company. If you don't know who they are based in Barcelona. So, at Mobile World Congress, we have all of these companies come from around the world, and many of them are not local. They're not Spanish based, and they are based in Barcelona, and
Catalonian.
yeah, they are very focused on narrowband IoT, and what Jamie shared with me is that as they move towards production in the second half of this year, they already have MOUs lined up so that they'll be able to hit the ground running very quickly. And they're not focused on launching a ton of satellites initially, and that's sort of AST SpaceMobile's plan as well. AST SpaceMobile talks to the fact that physically their satellites are larger, and there's not a requirement to launch tens of thousands of satellites like Starlink, but there are concerns about its size. But hey, it's sort of give and take from that perspective. But just to kind of round out the thought process with satellite OT or Sateliot, what's really interesting is that Jamie shared with me there's an opportunity for them to work with NGOs to do some things that are very philanthropic in bridging the digital divide, where and these are sustainability use cases, and I will go into more depth in my Forbes article, but there may actually be an opportunity for me to spend time with that team as well as they engage in some of these philanthropic efforts where the company will provide access. They're not going to provide the sensors, but work with organizations that are leveraging narrowband IoT sensors to do things like monitor deforestation, illegal poaching in very, very remote parts of the world. As you can imagine, deforestation in places like the Amazonian region, and wildlife conservation in places like the continent of Africa, where there's little to no connectivity in remote areas. So it's super exciting. So we were talking about the opportunity of my helping them tell their story, and so I'll probably be doing that in the future as well. But again, NTN and satellite continues to be hot. So what are your thoughts before we move to your second topic?
I don't feel like there was really anything new in terms of news for
Yeah, there really
that
wasn't.
segment, so I don't really have much to add other than we're going to continue to follow this and talk
Yep.
about the new next developments as things continue to occur. I saw some news about T-Mobile and SpaceX maybe getting a little bit too much wiggle room for the FCC in terms of approvals, and some
Right.
competitors not being happy about that.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but ultimately, I want there to be competition
Yeah.
because I think this will be a function of smartphones where I still believe that 911 services will be done over satellite.
Yeah. No, I mean, and the opportunity to sort of augment like what AT&T is doing with FirstNet, I think is huge. So, but with that, let's go to your second topic. And it would not be a Mobile World Congress Barcelona wrap up if we didn't talk about mobile devices. And there were a bunch that were launched.
Yes. So some of them were launches, some of them were prototypes, some of them were teasers. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna just roll through these real fast,
All
not waste
right.
anybody's time. Honor announced the Magic 6 Pro, which is their flagship phone. Xiaomi announced their 14, but their flagship was the Ultra. That might be the new hotness in terms of smartphone camera capabilities.
Mhm.
Both of those have the latest Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. Motorola showed off a bendable phone, which wraps around your wrist.
I
It's
saw
a
that.
it's a
Crazy.
new generation of something that they showed off in 2016, like 8 years ago. So,
Mhm.
and it doesn't honestly look any more commercially ready, to be honest with you. Um,
Right.
so that's how I feel about it. Um, and then we've got Tecno, which is like more of a like a more budget brand, very popular in Africa. showed off a rollable phone concept. Lenovo showed off a clear screened laptop, which uh, literally has no back. You can see through it, and everybody had to pose with photos with their face behind it.
I saw
Um,
that. It was wild looking, man.
yes, that's very much a prototype. And then Xiaomi showed off their car, because every Chinese manufacturer of anything now has a car. Um,
Right.
including Xiaomi. And then Samsung showed off more of their Galaxy Ring. They let people take pictures of it, which they didn't do before, and some people were able to try it out. I was not. I will hopefully eventually, if they ever send me one, I might have to just go buy myself one. And
Yeah.
then, last but certainly not least, OnePlus launched their watch, and I stupidly today decided not to wear it, but it's somewhere in my apartment here. I've actually
Okay.
been using it since before it launched. The crazy thing about that watch, and this is how I'll wrap up my segment,
Yeah.
it's a dual OS, dual chipset watch. So when the phone is doing smartwatch things, it's on one chipset, and when it's doing like basic tasks, like just telling time and reading your heart rate, it does it on a different phone, on a different chipset with different
Yeah.
battery life. So with an always on screen, I'm getting 3 days, which is 3 times more than I get on a normal watch with always on. And with always with the screen not always on, uh, people are claiming somewhere in the ballpark of 100 hours of battery life,
Yeah.
which is like 4 or 5 days. In my experience, when I didn't have always on display turned on, I was getting at least 4 days based on my math.
Yeah.
So really, this thing is might be the revolution in how we get smartwatches that have full capabilities to like a week, which I think is kind of like the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Because charging your watch every night, like it's not horrible because you're just doing it when you do your phone, but not
Yeah.
having to always charge it and being able to charge it kind of when you feel like it or when it's convenient is just so much better. And that's why I think a lot of people wear these smart rings, because you only have to charge them about once a day. But yeah, that's kind of like the smartphone and device roundup. That said, my last topic will be the XR stuff, which I'll save for after your third topic.
Yeah, actually, I saw the OnePlus at the event. Yeah, Spencer Blank, who you and I know, but very well. He showed me the OnePlus watch, and that's interesting. I didn't realize the dual chipset thing with the battery life, and I have an Apple Watch. I'm wearing it right now. I wear it when I travel, and this, I mean, it's the Ultra or whatever they call the
The
bigger
Ultra.
one. Yeah, the Ultra, and yeah, you gotta recharge the sucker at least every other day, because it's got the always on display and that sort of thing. It's a bigger screen and whatnot. I'll also mention I served as a Glomo award judge, and we honored the honor, and that, and also I think the Google Pixel. But if you go hit my Twitter feed, you can learn more about that. But
Saw the Pixel One best like smartphone camera or something like that.
yeah, it did,
Or
and
best
there was
smartphone.
kind of an honorable mention for the honor, and there was a Porsche design version of that as well. But
Yes, the
you're
Porsche
the
design looks great. And
yeah,
you said
it's
honorable
beautiful.
mention?
Yeah, honorable mention. But yeah, there are just lots of gadgets, lots of devices out there. You would have been a kid in the candy store, but you'll likely be back next year, so you can
Yes.
see it in the flesh.
I will
So
probably be next I'll probably go next year with little one in tow. Obviously not
yeah,
as
that would be cool. Yeah, there you go.
might
You
be
could
her
get a
first trip to Spain.
little papoose. You walk around the show floor with your daughter there. But hey, I know we're running long, so I'm going to be very quick on my third topic, and I want to talk about Nokia. And I had learned about this before the actual MWC event, but I think it's worth sharing. So Nokia is finding some renewed enterprise focus with Dell Technologies when it comes to a couple of different things. One, private 5G networking. So Dell did announce that Nokia will be sort of its preferred partner when it comes to private cellular networking opportunities. And but Dell will still maintain a flexible approach to that. It sort of sounds like a best of breed, but they will lead with Nokia, and I think that is important, especially when you kind of take into consideration the Ericsson AT&T tied up for open, and how that's affected, sort of Nokia in the very short term, which also resulted in some reduction in workforce and that sort of thing. So I think the timing's great. Nokia and Dell have long been partners. Nokia has been leaning very heavily into Dell, especially for um, common off-the-shelf server technologies in the Dell PowerEdge. And so that leads me to the second point I want to make here. Nokia is sunsetting its compute platform. I forget the name. Matt Kimball on our team is the compute expert. He would probably know if he was on the podcast with us today. But Nokia will be sunsetting its compute platform, and they will be consolidating that and moving 100% in a direction with Dell and the PowerEdge server platform. So I think that's great. Nokia needed some momentum, needed some wind, kind of given, the news with Ericsson and AT&T. And I think, the other opportunity here is that Dell provides a very robust channel
And
for
trusted.
Nokia. Yeah, and a trusted channel as well. And if you look at Dell's recent earnings, they just killed it again. So that path to enterprise is huge for Nokia because they've been challenged in the past. When you look at what they've tried to do with like Nuage networks, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a service provider selling motion. So yeah, and I don't want to cut you off. You wanted to say
I'll
something
just give a
there.
little quick insight. I would say I'm not the most knowledgeable in the sector. However, it's quite obvious that Nokia needed some credibility in terms of compute and
Mhm.
and working with a reliable partner that has a good reputation. And I think Dell is still looking for telecom recognition, and I think this is a good partnership for both companies because I think
Yeah,
they both gain something out of this.
yeah,
And Dell's reliability and their supply chain are unmatched,
yeah.
and I think that they're a very trusted partner in the U.S. So Nokia knows that they can work with them, and yeah, I just think Dell, to your point, they killed it on earnings, and it seems like they're probably, they're just one of those companies that's like very hard to stop. They are just
Yeah.
ruthlessly efficient in accomplishing their goals, and they get rewarded for it. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, and I'll just close it out. I did have an opportunity to meet with the Dell Telecom team. I ran into Dennis Hoffman, who's the general manager on the flight over, and we just chatted just real briefly. But I didn't meet with Dennis, but I met with Sandro and his team and a couple of other Dell folks, and they continue to build momentum with their telecom business. And they had several announcements. I kind of mentioned the ones with Nokia, but there were some other announcements there that's really furthering their momentum there. And what I like about Dell's strategy, and it plays to their DNA, is that it's a very ecosystem based approach. So they don't profess to be all things to all people, but where they have capabilities within compute, they're looking at shoring up partnerships. They're doing reference designs. They're doing blueprinting. They're doing that sort of thing. All the right things, but bringing in the right set of partners like Nokia to be successful in telecom. So they're really raising the bar. They're competing with Hewlett Packard Enterprise in that regard, and Lenovo as well. I met with both the HPE Athonet teams and Charles Freeland that manages the telco and edge business for Lenovo, and I'm seeing a lot of promising things there. So I love how the traditional PC and compute companies are stepping up, and they're really providing value add within the telecommunication space. So with that, we're going to roll to your third and final topic. And hey, it's all about mixed reality, and that's one of your big loves. So I'll let you close us out.
Obviously, there's a lot of attention being paid to mixed reality and
Yeah.
spatial computing, thanks to Apple's Vision Pro launch. But at the show, it was kind of just more of the usual suspects doing um, you know, their regular things at MWC. There's usually a good amount of mobile related XR stuff. So Qualcomm announced the XR Hub, which is a uh, reference platform that Vodafone actually picked up that we talked about last week in the
Right.
reality hyper reality hub. But the update was they changed the optics or the glasses, so it's no longer the Qualcomm reference AR2 Gen 1 headset. It's now a more sleek DigiLens based waveguide solution. And then I was at Qualcomm ahead of MWC, and they gave me their Boundless AR 5G demo, which was really cool because it was a enterprise focused demo that showed how you could use AR glasses paired with a smartphone connected to a 5G network powered by Ericsson with a HoloLight rendering solution to render a really high resolution 3D model of a car or a city in a digital twin environment, and show you how they can manage the user experience so that it doesn't ever drop below a certain frame rate or a certain level of quality by turning on and off the graphics based on your connection and constantly polling the experience to make sure that it's good enough and switching between the smartphone and the cloud and back and forth seamlessly by kind of dialing down the graphics a little bit. And yeah, I think in addition to that, Oppo showed their next generation of their Air Glass. Every year I've been at MWC for the last few years, they've had a new version of their Air Glass. They had the 1, they had the 2, and now they have the 3. The 1 was a single eye solution, so was the 2, but the 3 is a dual eye 50 gram lightweight solution. So it's super lightweight. They're claiming they developed these optics in-house. I think they're actually probably licensing someone's tech because nobody just pulls waveguides out of nowhere. It's a very complicated tech. So that I'm really excited to eventually try that out. MWC would have been my chance, but unfortunately I wasn't able to. So that's a big bummer. And then there are some companies that are coming out with AR contact glass or AR contact lenses.
Yeah.
They say that they're going to have them in 2026. This company is called Expansio. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm a little hesitant just because there was a company called Mojo Vision that had hundreds of millions of dollars dedicated to this exact problem, and they failed
Yeah.
due to a lack of funding, which was kind of like a moment where the market ran out of funds for XR right before Apple came to the market.
Yeah.
So they shut down in January of 23, I think. But they still have a display business, so they're not fully shut down, but they shut down their AR contact business. So we'll see what happens. But I'm very very hesitant about AR contact lenses at this point. And yeah, that's kind of the roundup of XR stuff at MWC.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to put anything that had any sort of electronic connection to it, in my eyeball. But I also have astigmatism, and I tried contacts twice, and both times I had to go to the ER to have them removed. So I have a very sensitive eye issue there. But hey, man, we went a lot longer than 20 minutes, but we had a lot to talk about. I think it was a great podcast. Why don't you take us home?
Sure. We hope our viewers and listeners had enjoyed this week's topics. If anyone out there would like to provide insights for a future topic for a future podcast, please reach out to us on social media. Will's at Willtown Tech, and I'm at Anshel Sog. We hope you have a great weekend, and please tune in again next week. And don't forget to rate us and subscribe.